welcome to another episode of Conversations with Geoff. Man, I got to tell you, hey, today's guest, I just had a first time meeting her today. For those of you that don't know, our mission, first of all, is about bringing guests like we're going to see here in a few minutes that have shared their experience, their strength, and their hope through the battles of the combat and create this amazing life from all the struggles, create the resilience and the strength and things that we all have in order to show up and be their best, right? I mean, just an amazing thing coming up. So always, like I tell you, turn off your TV, turn off the distractions, and get ready to get some enlightening information, man, that you can use right now. You out there looking for someone that can help change the way your life is showing up, change how you feel about yourself, seeking to step into your purpose. If that's you, you're in the right place, right? Hey, listen, our mission at Conversations with Geoff is, as I mentioned to you, for those of you that may just be checking in. So make sure you're just hanging there with us and listen to the guests that we're bringing to the stage here shortly. And remember this, however your life might be right now today, whether you're achieving all the things that you wanted or you're stuck in this space, wherever it might be, there's something that you're going to get from this conversation. I just talked to her for 10 minutes. And man, it just was amazing. So anyway, my name, by the way, I'm host, is Geoff Tyson, and I'm known as the Comeback King. I got that name from people that have seen me go through all the things that we all face in life, you know, disappointments, the setbacks, the rejections, right? And continuing to pick myself up, just like you do, and take that next step and believe in one thing. That stinking thinking does not have to be the reason that keeps us stuck. All right? So listen, let me get to the bio so we can get our next guest up, because I mean, man, we talk about some things about a person and it's just amazing. But anyway, let me stay focused here. I'm gonna highlight some things because I don't want to sell her short. So please pay attention to this piece about who she is. Right? It's Dr. Cynthia Howard. She energizes leaders and teams to break from the status quo and achieve exceptional results. Cynthia unlocks the potential in leaders by opening them to their strengths and superpowers. We're all chasing that superpower, right? Her innovative coaching style is designed to foster the growth of leadership brands, helping leaders rise above challenges and excel in their roles. And I'll tell you what, as a leadership person today, man, with all the stuff going on, you better be ready to pivot and understand how the power that is. Anyway, her journey began in healthcare as a registered nurse in critical care. Excellence, man, understood the need for excellence in life and death situations. She moved into management roles, developing leadership tracks, implementing shared governance, and curbing resources waste by just saving money. Over extensive care, Cynthia has also worked with hundreds of leaders, during which she discovered the resilience pyramid. And hopefully we get a chance to tap into that. This model highlights the key patterns successful leaders follow to navigate performance pressures. This lays the foundation of emotional effectiveness, distinguishing good leaders from the great ones. Right, Cynthia founded Work Smart Consulting to equip leaders to manage change and disruptions in today's workplace. Oh man, who's still suffering from the COVID place? All right, this includes exclusive executive coaching, training, and applied leadership and training, which gives leaders a place to learn, make mistakes, discuss, and grow. Through her performance-driven professional development programs, she's pioneered the resilience mindset. She's recognized as a fellow of American Institute, AIS, member of Force Coaching Expert, volunteer University of Tampa. She's written several books, and we'll hope maybe we get a chance to talk about those things. And most importantly, as we close this up, outside of her professional endeavors, Cynthia finds joy in life's simple yet profound pleasures. Her standard poodle, Bentley, now 9 months old, is her constant companion, bringing her energy and joy into her days. Cynthia also loves classic cars, guys. Check this out, 1955 Thunderbird. If you haven't seen that car, you need to go back and check it out, man. That was the car back then, by the way. I'm telling my age, but that was a car. Anyway, so Cynthia is an avid cook and gracious host who enjoys bringing friends together. Today, she's going to bring a lot of us together. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the stage. Before I go, I want to share this. Her faith is the cornerstone of her life, guiding in her personal and professional pursuit. She says this fearless approach to life is deeply rooted in her faith. Scripture, Matthew 19, 23, 26. All things are possible with God. Come on, man. Let's get busy. Let's find out about this lady, our next guest. Help me welcome to Conversations with Geoff, my new friend, Cynthia, Dr. Cynthia Howard.
Hey, Geoff.
What's up, Doc?
Yeah.
Woo. Man, very powerful experience. And if I may, we were talking about, I know we're going to get to all these things, guys. I just want to give you a peek of what we were talking about before the show even started. And it was about vulnerability. And maybe you kind of just picked that up from where you were talking about to me. And then we'll get back to all the other stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So Geoff is, first of all, you have such calm energy. You really do have a big heart. I can feel it. You just have such calm energy. And when you talked about, yeah, I want to get to the soul, that really touched me because being vulnerable is something that I'm recognizing as a key ingredient in really success. And it's different than what we thought. So, vulnerability really means being where you are in the moment. And the past 7 years, I actually took care of my husband who was sick and progressively got worse and eventually passed. And it was that vulnerability that was kind of a constant companion because I was scared, I was powerless, I was, you know, worried and uncertain. And this is all going on during the Great Disruption and the Great Resignation when the whole world was on fire anyway and upside down. And it was so surreal. And I I resisted that vulnerability, and then I realized, no, that's authenticity. That's when God shows up. That's when the truth about other people show up because I can share that moment with them. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So that was really kind of what led me to understand and being an executive coach, working with, you know, high performers, ambitious people who just want to get it done, who just want the results.
Yeah.
You know, you talk vulnerability and their eyes are going to glaze over and shut you down. And so, and I have a black belt in Lean Six Sigma, which is, you know, the performance tool that's used. So it's all about performance. And then I realized, well, you know, in a lot of ways it's true, but if we can learn to just appreciate or embrace that vulnerability, it's going to make us more empathetic, more human, more real.
Yeah.
And if anything today, we want real because we have fake news, we have fake this and that, we have fake everything. So I don't want to be fake anymore. So that's what, you know, I don't want to fake it till I make it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just want to be real. And so that's kind of where that vulnerability piece came in and that aha moment for me. Like it really is a strength. It's not just a saying.
Yeah.
It's a strength.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And you going through. Thank you for sharing that about your husband too, and that strength came from, I mean, all of that you endured in serving him and helping him. So thank you again for allowing me to put you on the spot, first of all.
yeah. Well, and you know what we talked about in before we came on was my pivot story way back when.
Yeah.
But it was all of that that gave me the foundation of strength to do what I had to do with my husband. And that was, you know, I was a nurse. And one of the things we used to say as a nurse, oh, we're always going to have job security. We're never going to have to worry about, you know, losing your job until I got laid off. When hospitals went through restructuring and the job that I had a master's degree. All mid-level managers or anybody with a higher degree was cut off. I couldn't get unemployment because I was a nurse And they said, oh, you can get a job anywhere. But hospitals weren't hiring. I was begging people to hire me just at entry level, anything. Because at that point I was getting my PhD. I didn't have family to support me. And all of a sudden I thought, I imagined myself homeless. I literally, because here I am without a job. I have nobody to help me. And I actually laid in bed for 3 days.
Mm.
Okay. And then I got hungry. And I'm like, you're hungry. You need to get out of bed. You need to do something. But I
That's
called
great.
an old director that I had, and she said, get a business card, call yourself a consultant. I'm like, okay, what am I consulting? Well, what could I do at that time? Okay, I did performance improvement. I did um, for people in healthcare, there's an accreditation that you go through, and I helped departments with that. So I knocked on doors and I got an income. I was getting paid. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. So
Wow.
I bumbled and fumbled because I had to pay rent. But I recognized early on, do you know how powerful visualization is? I
Ooh,
saw myself homeless. I
wow.
was there.
I
And
felt it
then I
on
realized, no, wrong movie.
you. Not today, not ever, right? Not happening. No.
I mean, after everything, because I grew up in a toxic home. It was, it was literally life and death sometimes because of the abuse. And I'm not trying to, be dramatic here. It's just the way it was. And
Yeah.
getting out of there was my goal. And I thought, wait a minute, I got out of there to end up homeless here on my road to a PhD.
Oh,
No. So then I really started to study the mind and how important it is, your thoughts and your emotions and the connection with that.
yeah, yeah.
And
I love that.
yeah,
I love
you
that.
you know all about that because, your story is not the same as mine, but the emotional journey may have been the same.
Yes, there are so many similarities in all of our journeys.
Mhm.
The symptoms or the experiences will be different, but the tenacity and the resiliency and I love what you said about seeing you when you said home was the first time I felt something, right? And then you came back and said I visualized that happening, and you said, "Oh, heck, no."
No, and it was so amazing because,
Mm,
when we think about disruptions today, we think major technology, we think, AI and all these things, but that business card was a disruption for
yeah,
me
yeah,
because all of a sudden I went from being laid off to not having an identity to, okay, I'm a consultant. I'm a
yeah.
consultant. Like I didn't really know what that meant yet. I didn't know what to charge. I
Mm,
was I was learning as I went along, but after a year of bumbling, fumbling, I did replace my nursing salary.
wow,
Okay, so I w- one
wow.
thing I've learned is you got to keep moving.
Hey,
Like
say it,
I
girl.
love Winston Churchill, who says when you're going through hell, keep moving.
Yes,
So I
yes,
just kept knocking on doors. I kept getting business,
yes.
and so that business card, disrupted my way of thinking, meaning I don't have an identity. I don't
Mhm.
know what I'm doing. Now,
Yeah,
I didn't have a refined business plan. I
yeah.
didn't have, a social media plan. No,
Mhm.
no, I was still operating in survival,
Right, right.
which is that stress mode, that survival instinct, like I just got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so I was so unsure of myself. Even though I had the money coming in, I decided I should get a job. Maybe I should go back and get a job. So hospitals had settled down,
Yeah.
and I went back and I got a job.
Mm.
And I was fired in 2 weeks. So I was laid off and fired like in less than a year or about a year. Anyway,
That's
because
good. Oh man.
you work for yourself, it's a little hard to
Mm.
take orders from people who maybe don't know as much as you, because I realized in that time period that I actually knew something.
Yeah,
I actually knew something.
smarter than most people you were working and reporting to. So
Yeah. And so even though it was very nice, I said it in a nice way, like the boss is like, you know, you need to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, you know, I checked out the situation and I actually think, and I said it just like, I actually think I should do this, this, and this. And she's like, no, we're going to do it my way.
oh man.
I'm like, and this was the mistake. Oh, but what about the best way? Shouldn't we do it? No, no, she didn't like that. So she said, you know, this isn't going to work.
that's, that's funny. She said,
So
I wish I could see her face. Oh man.
yeah, no, it was, I learned, don't say the next thing that you're thinking of. Like, don't always say what's in your mind.
Don't always.
Note to self.
My wife had that
Quiet.
experience this morning, right? So I know what you mean. Oh man. So
Yeah, so
all this is going on. I appreciate you sharing this too. It made me think about, you know, and I hope people hear you when you say you made a decision, but you didn't have the how and all that figured out, but you had made that decision, and then you moved forward and you created all these great things. So people, it made me think about my pivot when my football dream came to an end. I'm sitting on the bed in the apartment, and full of libations and some other things I won't mention. And I said, I'm going to be CEO of someone's business. Graduated from school in 4 years. Now, granted, I had a 1.9 GPA and I was on probation. Oh man! So anyway, I appreciate where you're going with all this stuff. So sorry to kind of backtrack, but man.
yeah, no, it's so good to remember that dreams are the new reality if you let go of where you are. You know, dreams have to be combined with action. I mean, you can't just think it and be like, oh yeah, this is, so you just have to take some steps. You have to take some action. So you took action. I took action. It wasn't always the right action, but it was some step.
Right.
And it was a decision. I'm just going to keep going. In fact, at some point, I met a friend from high school, like somewhere along the journey, and he was very successful in a construction business, and I was still bumbling and fumbling. I was still this consultant without a real focus. I was doing the performance improvement. I knew it wasn't really what my heart's desire was, but I hadn't figured that out yet. I was still getting my PhD, finishing that research. And he's just reminded me, he said, you know what? I've been up and down. I've made money. I've lost money. I've had no money. And he said, it's not over unless you stop getting back up.
Amen. Yes.
And that's the thing to remember. Sometimes if you're down, it feels so real. Like our emotions feel so real, but they're really based on fear more than based on the truth of who we are, because I believe what God says about me, and I go from victory to victory because through Christ, all things are possible. So I think if you just keep going, take a step, get out of bed. Like if I would have stayed in bed one more day in the beginning, I probably would have been homeless because my apartment wanted to be paid.
Yeah.
The rent.
Yeah. And you mentioned 3 days, and then the fourth day you got up, right? And so it's living proof of the example. Chances are what you're saying is spot on, where the other situation would have taken place. So people get up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And just take chances. You have to take chances. And sometimes the reason we have to be at rock bottom is because of the fear factor. Like when your back is really against the wall, okay, no money coming in, nobody else to help you. It's on me. So afraid or not, I have to just do something. I just have to get up and do it.
Yeah,
So,
but so even in those times though, people still wait for permission. What can we talk to? What can we tell that person?
oh, that's
That's
so interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
What can we?
Yeah. Well, I think because of my early life, and again, it was very toxic. It was, physical abuse, sexual abuse, incredible emotional abuse, just daily onslaughts of you're never going to amount to anything. And and I was very shy, and I continue to this day to be an introvert and prefer to be in the background versus in the foreground. But I learned in that situation, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. So early on, I was like, no, you're not going to really tell me what to do. In fact, I remember being in a sales job because at some point I decided I wanted to try sales. So I worked for Abbott Diagnostics, and and I had this really big sale that I wanted to make, but the pathologist was afraid to fly. So I hired a private jet. Well, it would have cost probably $900 to for the tickets,
Right,
okay? So I
right.
ended up spending $1,200 on this jet, and
Yeah.
I had a nice little American Express card. Boom, put it right on that card. I got the sale, not just one, I got 2 of those analyzers, and I got all that residual income coming in from the product that I sold.
Yeah. Nice.
And my boss pulled me in his office. He's like, what's this $1,200? I'm like, Doug, you're the one that told me, because he was the one that told me it's better to ask forgiveness. So I'm
Yeah.
asking your forgiveness because I just made this great sale for you. So just stop whining. So at some point, you just have to step out of the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if you've had enough of being down and you just, I don't know what it takes because it was something outside of me. It was a survival instinct, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like you, what was it that caused you to put the drugs down, the alcohol down, and just say, hey, my future is in me. It's not over.
I think for me it was kind of like some of the things you've already said, and even things happen. People move away from pain or pleasure, right? And those I believe those two things. And for me, I think it was my home situation was different. I had two parents who were loving and they had a dream and they, all the things that were going on back in that time frame, they didn't bring that in the household, right? It was about living your life full out. So I knew that there was something better, right? I knew it had to, like you had mentioned before, it had to be something else out there for me. And I didn't know what it was, but I didn't know. I knew I didn't like how I felt, and so I could feel better. So somehow other people were feeling better. I could feel better. So I just walked in faith, walked, like you did, and just talking to myself, giving myself a different message, right? That's thinking, that we talk about all the time on the show. I was in the gym with that all the time. I can instead I can't. I never complained because my parents never complained really, right? I mean, they wanted something, they went after it, and so that kind of this was, just kind of took over for me.
Oh, good. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, right. In fact, while you were talking, it was occurring to me that the ingredient that needs to be nurtured is hope.
mm, say that.
Hope that there's something better. And so, and I think actually, I'm just thinking this through out loud, but your first question about vulnerability, I think hope comes out of vulnerability because when I was going through a lot of situations in my life, I had to act strong. I had to be tough. I didn't want people to see that I was hurting. In fact, I ran into a high school friend, you know, a long time ago. I mean, recently, but we were in high school a long time ago. And I was telling him about my early life, not because I brought it up, but he brought it up. And he's like, I never would have known that. I didn't
Mm.
see that in you. And I'm like, yeah, I was a great pretender.
You
I
see?
was I was pretending
Yeah,
because I wanted to fit in and this and that. I wanted people to think I was normal,
yeah.
whatever that is.
You think it was
Like,
okay? Yeah,
yeah. And so that doesn't allow for hope because you're pretending. You're like acting. So I don't want to fake it till I make it anymore. I want to live life with an open heart and continue to hope because, and that's where faith comes in. My faith is in the Lord, so hope is there.
yeah,
It's always there. It's fresh every morning.
yeah,
And so I think if people can just hang on to one little thing and then just step on that and step on the next thing and the next thing. It's really little baby steps. It's
yeah,
incrementally you
yeah,
move through the darkness and you get into the place where you want to be,
yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's
you
not
know.
even really a step; it's more of a nudge forward.
Yeah, just
Pick
yeah.
your feet up, you know. So we do the Frankenstein pose, right? We just like,
Okay. And you said it earlier, you mentioned purpose. I think in your open you talked about purpose. I think we have to eventually find our purpose.
yeah, yeah. But we hear that a lot. I mean, how? I mean, in your profession, how are you simplifying it, or what do you use that really kind of gets that person to be willing to hang in there long enough and brave enough to really step into the purpose? What can you say? How do you help people in that space?
Well, most people helping someone else is sort of a human thing. I mean, I think human beings are born with that. We want to help other people. We want to see someone else succeed. We want to help in some way, shape, or form. So, but purpose is really that thing that makes you forget about yourself. So, whatever it is that you find yourself thinking a lot about that gets you out of that stuck place or gets you out of that hole is probably linked to your purpose. And to find it, it sometimes takes, it's a bit of a dig. So I was working doing performance improvement and I was quote unquote helping these departments, but it wasn't something that I knew was going to carry me through, and I wanted to have a purpose filled life. I didn't want to get another job. I
Yeah,
wanted to do something that was going to leave a legacy. And the reason I never could have kids. Okay, so that was one of the pivots I made in my life. I actually That's when I started collecting cars.
okay.
So, um, because my husband at the time, everybody grieves differently. He, thought it was him. So he goes out and he buys a red Corvette. And I'm like, okay, I decide I'm going to go to get my PhD.
Right.
Well, he also decides he, so I took the car out for a ride and came back and the door was locked. And I'm like, why is the door locked? So I'm knocking on the door and this young woman opens the door and then another young woman opens the door and I'm like, "Hmm, something wrong with this picture." I was like, you keep the twins, I'm taking the Corvette. And that's when I started collecting cars. So and I've had about 8 Corvettes since then. So and all used,
Yeah,
older models, you
yeah,
can get some good deals. But anyway, that's the story there. So you got to make the best of things.
yeah. I'm just laughing. I love you. Keep the twins. Oh boy.
So yeah, I didn't know if I should share that or not, but hey, it's part of my story.
Yeah. Hey, this is you. This is what this platform is for. Like, it's. I love that. Right.
Yeah, and you just learn to laugh along the way. So the purpose came when I realized I want to help people get through things that I went through, and dealing with trauma and dealing with mindset issues, and maybe that grew up in a similar situation. And so that's when I realized, okay, that's what I want to do. And my focus then for my PhD program was on mindset and success and understanding the stress response and resilience. And I opened up a practice doing that. Um, and my professor said, you you do not want to open up a practice right away. You want to teach or do something else. And I'm like, no, I'm going to open a practice.
Yeah.
So, you just got to go against the grain sometimes,
Yeah.
because if your heart tells you that's what you need to do,
Yes.
then God is with you on it.
Yes. Yeah. Follow your heart, man. Follow your emotions, and know that
Yeah.
that's going to it's going to probably support you the most and hold you back the most. You could have very easily said, "Okay, you're right," to that, and there wasn't a hesitation. You're like, nah.
No, because I could not imagine. I mean, first of all, I was a lot younger and inexperienced, and I was very introverted. And standing in front of, 30 to 50 or 100 students teaching would
Yeah.
have been such a drain. It
Yeah.
would have been such a drain. I would have failed miserably, and then had to get back up and start over again.
Yeah.
But I just learned, you just you just got to go with your heart, and yeah,
Yeah. I
take
love it.
chances. Yeah,
Yeah. Take the chances and don't listen. Don't listen to somebody who has not done what you want them to do. You know?
that's it. Those are such powerful words. That is so true.
Come
There you
on.
go.
Yeah, I mean, find someone who has had the success. If you can, you didn't need to, right? I mean, you were like, I'll figure it out. You've gone through all these things and you've created this other stuff. And what I love and what I'm feeling from you is that the common sense factor never left you.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
there's a practicality to life. You have to do certain things. Keep your body moving,
Yeah.
keep your mind still,
Mm.
and and um and believe. Have a vision. Like,
Yeah.
have a goal,
Yeah. Yeah. So
a measurable goal.
how do you before we because I want to ask you about the goal, but how do you keep your mind still? What's something, I mean, it's for someone else that needs that. What's a little hint that you can drop that helps do that?
And so a moment is 3 seconds. So a moment is 3 seconds. So we live in the age of technology, and it's constantly vying for our attention. So the bells and whistles are going off. There's something shiny on the internet. We've got TikTok, we've got uh, X and YouTube and everything else, and we can be constantly stimulated. And that onslaught of information really does shut down creativity.
Yeah.
It's an absolute
Mm.
um, wet blanket, on anything creative. And so our mind is more numb than still.
Mm.
So we don't,
Mm.
so turn off distractions, like your instructions in the beginning were like, okay, people, turn off your TVs and whatever else. That was really good, because distraction kills. And so if you just think those 3 seconds, you can breathe, you can just be in the moment, look at the sky, feel the air on your skin, just like be present in this moment
Yeah.
and practice that throughout your day. You'll start to quiet your mind from worrying about the future, which, don't worry, visualize instead,
Mm.
or thinking about the past. It's
Mm.
over, rear view mirror.
Mm.
Like, it took me a while to not go back to my past, and to not want to be a victim.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, early on I was victimized, but, after 12 years old, well, actually, it was 16 for me. I took charge. I'm like, no, you're not going to beat me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my mother raised up her hand. I'm like, I grabbed her hand. I'm like, nope, it's over. It's done. Stop.
Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't I do that sooner? Because she stopped.
Yeah, she stopped. Man.
Anyway, so, you know, at some point we have to take charge. And so,
Yeah.
but it's that mindful attention, just, and eliminating distractions, giving yourself quiet time where you're not plugged in. You might be outside, in the gym. You know, I think working out is a great way to be mindful,
Yeah.
because when you're lifting those weights, you're thinking about the muscle, you're thinking about your form. So that's kind of, I call it my power hour in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, I listen to worship music, I praise God, and I work out. I lift those weights.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, find that thing. It could be dancing for you, it could be walking, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I wrote down Power Hour. And I encourage everybody, you know, that listen, I'm taking as many notes as I can because I'm gonna have to go back and get this. I mean, she's dropping so many things that you can put into your world right now today to make some difference and make some changes, and no longer feel like you have to be the victim, but be the warrior. I thank you, Dr. Howard, for what we've been talking about so far. I wanted to make sure, because our time is, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, holy smokes. I wanted to kind of pivot and give you a chance to talk about the 3 things in your book that you talk about. I say book, but it's the SMART principles and the work SMART principles. And there's 3 things you talk about: focus, finish, and flex.
Yeah.
Can we get into
Oh, thank you. Is that mine?
I can see that look in your eyes like, please don't reach up one more time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, Robbins. I can see it in your eyes. I can see it's hurting.
training?
So you're like, my hands are hurting. Please, can we ever eat? Does he ever pee? Do we ever get a break?
We're doing a
But
training.
in spite of all that shit, you pushed yourself, and I honor you for that. However, that's not sustainable.
Oh man.
Oh, there you go.
Some of you a few days from now are gonna get a little sick. You're gonna think, oh, I caught something at the seminar.
Tony Robbins training.
Yes, I got all this mucus coming in. These bugs must have climbed inside me, and now they're making mucus and it's spitting out. No. Here's what's happening. When you burn sugar, how do I know you burn sugar? I can see it in you.
Is it a YouTube? It sounds like it could be a YouTube.
Yes,
Most of you live a style to burn sugar. Most of America does. The problem with burning sugar is it's like lighter fluid. Boom, explosion, and it's over. So when you have sugar, you burn for a while, and then you drop. How many know what I'm talking about here? But when you train your body to burn fat, which is what they did in Central America, not some bullshit story, the real way to make your nervous system burn fat is the primary source. Fat burns like hot coals. It burns and burns and burns.
Okay.
I burn for days. That's how I do what I do. I went and studied